Take a moment to get comfortable. Let the weight of the day soften and allow your breathing to slow just a little. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to follow, and nowhere you need to go. This is simply a place to rest. As the story begins, you can listen or let the words drift by and sleep whenever you're ready. Welcome to Bedtime Stories of Calm and Grace. Tonight's story is The Sauna Keeper, a sleep story from the Finnish Lakeland. Chapter 1, The Lake at Twilight. In the heart of Finland, where the land is more water than earth, there exists a place of profound stillness. Here, 10,000 lakes mirror the endless summer sky, their surfaces so calm that you cannot tell where water ends and heaven begins. The forests press close to the shores, birch and pine, and spruce standing sentinel over waters that have remained unchanged since the glaciers retreated 10,000 years ago. This is the Finnish Lakeland, and it is here on the shore of a lake called Sauna that we find a small wooden building with no chimney. Smoke seeps from between the logs, rising in lazy spirals toward the pale evening sky. This is a sauna, a smoke sauna, the oldest and rarest form of the Finnish bathing tradition, and the man who tends it is named Vaijana. Vaijana is 71 years old. His hair is white as birch bark, his eyes the gray blue of lake ice in spring. He moves slowly now, his joints stiff with age, but his hands remain sure and steady. For 53 years, he has been the keeper of this sauna, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather and great-grandfather before him. 5 generations of his family have tended this fire, prepared this steam, maintained this sacred space. Tonight, as you settle into the comfort of your bed, we will spend the evening hours with Vaijana. We will watch as he prepares the sauna in the old way, heating the stones for hours, filling the small wooden room with smoke, then releasing it to leave behind only warmth and the soft scent of birch. We will learn what the Finns have always known, that there is a spirit in the steam, a presence in the heat, a peace that can only be found in the ritual of fire and water and stone. But there is no hurry. The sauna has been heating since midday, and it will not be ready until the stars appear. In Finland, everything takes the time it takes. The lakes did not form in a day. The forests did not grow in a season. And a proper sauna cannot be rushed. Chapter 2, The Gathering of Wood. The morning began, as every sauna day begins, with the gathering of wood. Vaijana rose before dawn, when the lake was still shrouded in mist and the first birds were just beginning to stir. He dressed in his oldest clothes, the ones stained with soot and sweat, the ones that carry the smell of 1,000 fires. The woodshed stands behind the sauna, a simple structure of weathered boards and a tin roof gone orange with rust. Inside, birch logs are stacked in neat rows, each one split and dried over many months. Vaijana runs his hand along the pale bark, feeling for the logs that are properly seasoned, neither too wet nor too dry. It burns hot and clean, producing a smoke that is aromatic rather than acrid. The bark catches quickly, the wood beneath burning with a steady, reliable heat. Vayana's father taught him to select the logs by feel, by sound, by the way they ring when tapped together. Good birch sings, poor birch thuds. He loads the logs onto a wooden sled, an antique thing with iron runners that his grandfather made by hand nearly a century ago. The sled glides easily over the packed earth path that leads from the woodshed to the sauna. Vayana makes this journey many times, building a pyramid of wood beside the sauna door, enough fuel to last through the long hours of heating. The mist is beginning to lift from the lake now. Through the gaps in the birch trees, Vayana can see the water emerging, silver gray in the early light. A loon calls from somewhere out on the water, its voice echoing across the stillness. It is a sound that has not changed in 10,000 years, a cry that his ancestors heard when they first settled these shores. When the wood is gathered, Vayana pauses to catch his breath. He is not as young as he once was, and the work that once came easily now requires rest. But there is no shame in this. The sauna teaches patience. The sauna teaches that everything happens in its own time. Chapter 3. The lighting of the fire inside the savasana. The air is cool and dark. There are no windows, only a small door, and the gaps between the logs where smoke will eventually escape. The ceiling is low, blackened by decades of smoke, the wood worn smooth by the hands of countless bathers. In the center of the room sits the kuas, the great stone stove, cold and waiting. The kuas is the heart of the sauna. It is a massive structure of carefully chosen stones, some as large as a man's head, others small enough to fit in the palm. These stones have been collected over generations from the shores of the lake, tested by fire and water until only the strongest remain. A stone that cracks in the heat is discarded. A stone that endures becomes part of the kuas, part of the lineage, part of the sacred vessel that transforms fire into steam. Vayana kneels before the kuas, arranging kindling in the firebox beneath the stones. Birch bark curls and twists as he places it in a loose nest. Thin twigs go on top, then thicker sticks, then the first small logs. He works with the deliberate care of long practice, building a structure that will catch and hold and grow. From his pocket, he takes a box of wooden matches. The box is old, the paper label faded to illegibility, but the matches inside are dry and ready. He strikes one against the box, and a small flame springs to life, yellow and eager in the darkness. He touches the flame to the birch bark, and it catches immediately, spreading in a widening circle of orange and gold. The flame climbs through the kindling, reaching upward, hungry for the logs above. Smoke begins to fill the small room, curling around Vayana's head, stinging his eyes. This is why the savasana has no chimney. The smoke must fill the room completely, heating every surface, every stone, every inch of wood before it is released. It is an ancient method, unchanged for 7,000 years. Vayana backs toward the door, coughing slightly, his eyes watering. He will return every hour to add more wood, to monitor the fire, to ensure that the heating proceeds as it should. But for now, his work is done. The fire has been lit. The transformation has begun. Chapter 4. The hours of waiting. A proper savasana. requires 4 to 6 hours to heat. There is no way to shorten this time, no method to speed the process. The stones must absorb the heat gradually, evenly, until they are hot enough to produce steam, but not so hot that they crack. The walls must warm through completely, releasing any moisture trapped in the wood. The smoke must do its work, seasoning the surfaces, killing any mold or bacteria, leaving behind only the clean scent of burnt birch. Vaiana uses these waiting hours for the quiet tasks of daily life. He mends a fishing net, sitting on the shore of the lake with the net spread across his lap, his fingers working the familiar knots. He walks through the forest to check on his berry patches, noting which bushes are ripening, which will be ready for picking in the coming weeks. He sits on the dock with a cup of coffee, watching the clouds drift across the summer sky. In Finland, there is a word for this kind of peaceful solitude, saunarauha. It means the peace of the sauna, but it extends beyond the walls of the small wooden building. It is a state of mind, a way of being in the world, characterized by silence and simplicity and the absence of hurry. Vaiana has lived his entire life in pursuit of this peace, and he has found it here, on the shores of this lake, in the shadow of these forests, in the warmth of this ancient sauna. Every hour, he returns to the sauna to add more wood. Each time, the room is hotter, the smoke thicker, the stones beginning to glow with stored heat. He works quickly, adding the logs with practiced efficiency, then retreating again to the fresh air outside. The smoke follows him through the door, rising and dispersing in the soft summer breeze. By mid-afternoon, the sauna is nearly ready. The stones are hot enough that water flicked onto their surface evaporates instantly with a sharp hiss. The walls are warm to the touch, the wood releasing the faint sweet smell of heated birch. Now comes the final stage, the release of the smoke. Chapter 5, The Clearing of the Air. Vaiana opens the small door of the sauna wide and props it with a stone. Immediately, the smoke begins to pour out, a thick gray river flowing through the opening and rising toward the sky. He opens a small vent in the back wall, creating a cross draft that pulls the smoke through and out. This process takes an hour or more. The smoke must clear completely before the sauna can be used. Any smoke remaining would be harsh on the lungs, uncomfortable and potentially harmful. But when the air finally clears, what remains is extraordinary. A warmth unlike any other, soft and enveloping, scented with the clean ash of birch and the subtle sweetness of heated wood. Vaiana sits on a bench outside the sauna, watching the smoke diminish. The sun is lower now, the shadows of the birch trees stretching long across the grass. The lake has turned from silver to gold, reflecting the warm light of late afternoon. A family of swans glides past the dock, their white feathers glowing in the golden hour. He thinks about his father, who sat on this same bench, watching this same process for 40 years before him. He thinks about his grandfather, who built this sauna with his own hands, using techniques passed down through countless generations. He thinks about his great-grandfather, who first cleared this land and chose this spot on the lakeshore, recognizing something sacred in the conjunction of water and forest and sky. The smoke thins and fades. The air inside the sauna begins to clear. Viana enters one final time, checking the temperature with his hand, testing the quality of the air. The stones glow with a deep, steady heat. The walls radiate warmth. The air is clean and soft and welcoming. The sauna is ready. Chapter 6. The preparation of the body before entering the sauna. The body must be prepared. This is not merely practical, but ceremonial. A transition from the ordinary world to the sacred space of heat and steam. Viana walks to the lake shore, where a small wooden platform extends over the water. He undresses slowly, folding his clothes and setting them on a bench. The evening air is cool on his skin, raising goosebumps along his arms and legs. He steps to the edge of the platform and looks out over the lake. The water is calm, reflecting the pale blue of the summer sky, the dark green of the surrounding forests. He lowers himself into the lake, gasping slightly at the cold. The water of Saima comes from deep springs, and even in summer it remains cool, perhaps 15 degrees. He immerses himself completely, feeling the cold close over his head, shocking his system awake. Then he surfaces, shaking the water from his hair, already feeling more alive, more present, more ready for what is to come. On the shore, a bundle of fresh birch branches waits. These are the vita, the traditional birch whisks used to gently brush the skin during the sauna. Viana gathered them this morning from a young tree near the woodshed, selecting branches with plenty of leaves, binding them together with a strip of birch bark. He dips the vita in the lake, soaking the leaves until they are soft and fragrant. He climbs back onto the platform, water streaming from his body, and picks up a wooden bucket. He fills it with lake water, clear and cold, and carries it toward the sauna. This water will be used to create the leili, the steam that is the soul of the Finnish bathing experience. The word leili is ancient, older than the Finnish language itself. It comes from the Proto-Finnic word lul, meaning spirit or soul. To the ancient Finns, the steam that rose from hot stones was not merely water vapor, but something alive, something sacred, a manifestation of the spirit world. Even today, this belief persists in subtle ways, in the reverence with which the sauna is treated, in the quiet respect that falls over bathers as they enter its warmth. Chapter 7. The first steam. Viana pushes open the door of the sauna and steps inside. The heat envelops him immediately, a presence as physical as an embrace. It is not the sharp, aggressive heat of a modern electric sauna, but something softer, more penetrating, a warmth that seems to enter through the skin and settle in the bones. He climbs to the upper bench, where the heat is most intense. The wood is warm beneath him, smooth from decades of use. He sits with his back against the wall, his legs extended before him, and allows his body to adjust to the temperature. His heart beats faster. His skin begins to glisten. His breath comes slower, deeper, as his body surrenders to the heat. For several minutes, he simply sits. This first stage is about warming, about opening the pores, about letting the body release its tensions. The heat works into his muscles, loosening the stiffness of age, easing the aches that have accumulated over 71 years of living. He can feel his shoulders dropping, his jaw unclenching, his mind growing quiet. When he is ready, he reaches for the wooden ladle that rests beside the bucket of lake water. He dips it into the bucket, raises it, and pours a thin stream of water onto the hot stones of the QS. The water hits the stones and vanishes instantly. A wave of steam rises from the QS, filling the small room with moist heat. This is the Loilu, the spirit of the sauna, and it is unlike anything else on Earth. The temperature seems to double in an instant. The air becomes thick, almost liquid, pressing against the skin like a warm hand. Vaiana closes his eyes and breathes deeply. The steam fills his lungs, warm and clean, and faintly scented with birch from the stones below. He can feel it moving through him, cleansing and renewing, washing away the dust of the day and the weariness of the years. This is what his ancestors felt 7,000 years ago, in the first saunas dug into hillsides and heated with fire-warmed stones. The technology has changed very little. The experience has not changed at all. Chapter 8. The birch whisks when the steam has settled. Vaiana reaches for the Vita, the bundle of birch branches soaking in the bucket. He lifts it out, water dripping from the leaves, and shakes it gently to remove the excess moisture. The scent of fresh birch fills the sauna, green and alive, and somehow both invigorating and soothing. He begins to brush his skin with the Vita, starting with his arms and moving to his legs, his chest, his back. The leaves are soft against his skin, the brushing motion gentle and rhythmic. This is not meant to hurt or even to exfoliate, though both effects occur to some degree. It is meant to stimulate the skin, to increase circulation, to release the essential oils from the birch leaves, and allow them to penetrate the pores. There is a particular sound that the Vita makes as it moves across the skin, a soft swishing that becomes almost hypnotic with repetition. Vaiana falls into the rhythm without thinking, his arm moving in the same pattern that his father taught him, that his grandfather taught his father, that has been passed down through more generations than anyone can count. The birch leaves begin to release their oils, filling the air with a deeper, more complex scent. There are compounds in birch that have anti-inflammatory properties, natural antiseptics that cleanse the skin and promote healing. But the Finns did not know this when they first began using Vita. They knew only that it felt good, that it left the skin soft and the body relaxed, that something in the ritual was deeply, fundamentally right. Vaiana sets the Vita aside and pours another ladle of water onto the stones. Again, the Lolu rises, the steam filling the room, the heat intensifying. He lies back on the bench, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and even. The heat wraps around him like a blanket, holding him, supporting him, asking nothing of him but surrender. Chapter 9. The Lake Plunge. After perhaps 20 minutes in the heat, Vaiana rises from the bench. His body is flushed red, his skin dripping with sweat. He moves carefully, the heat having made him slightly lightheaded, and pushes open the door of the sauna. The evening air hits him like a wave, cool and fresh after the intensity of the steam. He walks down the path to the lake, his bare feet pressing into the soft grass. The coolness of the ground, a sharp contrast to the warmth of his body. The lake stretches before him, calm and silver in the fading light. The sun has set now, and the sky is fading from gold to rose to a deep, luminous blue. The first stars are appearing in the east, faint pinpricks of light in the darkening sky. Viana walks to the end of the dock and without hesitation steps off the edge. The cold water closes over him, a shock that takes his breath away. Every nerve in his body fires at once, alive and electric. The contrast between heat and cold, creating a sensation that is almost overwhelming in its intensity. He surfaces, gasping, his heart pounding. But already the cold is becoming tolerable, even pleasant. The heat stored in his body radiates outward, warming a thin layer of water around his skin. He floats on his back, looking up at the sky, watching the stars multiply as the darkness deepens. This contrast between heat and cold is essential to the Finnish sauna experience. It is what the Finns call avanto, the practice of alternating between the sauna and cold water, sometimes a lake, sometimes a hole cut in winter ice. The cycle stimulates the circulatory system, releases endorphins, creates a state of deep relaxation that cannot be achieved any other way. Viana swims slowly to the ladder and climbs back onto the dock. The air that felt cool moments ago now feels warm against his chilled skin. He walks back toward the sauna, ready to begin the cycle again. Chapter 10: The Deepening Silence. The second session in the sauna is always different from the first. The body has adjusted to the heat. The mind has grown quieter. The barriers between self and sensation have begun to dissolve. Viana climbs back to the upper bench and sits in silence, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and rhythmic. In Finnish culture, silence is not awkward or uncomfortable. It is valued, even treasured, as a space where true communication can occur. In the sauna, this silence takes on a deeper quality, a meditative stillness that allows the mind to settle like sediment in still water. Thoughts arise and pass away, worries dissolve in the heat. What remains is simply presence, simply being. Viana pours another ladle of water onto the stones. The low loo rises, wrapping around him, and he breathes it in. He can feel the spirit of the steam, the ancient presence that his ancestors recognized and honored. It is not a god in the Western sense, not a being to be worshipped or feared. It is more like a companion, a witness, a benevolent force that has been part of Finnish life since the first fires were lit. The sauna was once the most sacred building in a Finnish homestead, more important even than the house itself. It was where babies were born and the dead were prepared for burial. It was where the sick were brought for healing and where important decisions were made. The Finns believed that the veil between worlds was thinner in the sauna, that wisdom and insight came more easily in the presence of Lolu. Viana does not think about these things consciously. He simply experiences them, as his ancestors did, as his descendants will. The heat enters his body. The steam fills his lungs. The silence settles around him like snow. Chapter 11. The evening descends, the hours pass in cycles of heat and cold, of sauna and lake, of steam and silence. The sky outside has darkened completely now, the stars blazing in a firmament unmarred by artificial light. The Milky Way stretches from horizon to horizon, a river of light flowing through the darkness. Vaiana sits on the dock after his final plunge, wrapped in a linen sheet, watching the stars. The lake is absolutely still, reflecting the sky so perfectly that he cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. It is as if he is floating in the center of the universe, suspended between two infinities of light. His body is deeply relaxed, more relaxed than it has been in weeks. The alternating heat and cold have worked their magic, releasing tensions he did not know he carried, easing pains he had learned to ignore. His skin glows with warmth, soft from the birch oils, clean in a way that goes beyond the physical. The loons are calling again, their voices echoing across the water. Somewhere in the forest, an owl hoots, low and resonant. The sounds are ancient, unchanged. The same sounds that his ancestors heard when they sat on this shore after their own saunas, watching the same stars, feeling the same peace. Vaiana thinks about his father, who died 10 years ago, who spent his last evening in this sauna on this dock, looking at these stars. He thinks about his son, who lives in Helsinki now, who comes to the lake every summer to help with the sauna, who will one day inherit this place and this tradition. The chain is unbroken. The lineage continues. The Lolu will rise for generations yet to come. Chapter 12. The return to the house. The night has grown cool, and Vaiana rises at last from the dock. He walks slowly up the path to the small wooden house where he has lived for more than 40 years. The windows glow with warm light from the lamps inside. His wife, Aino, will have prepared a simple meal: bread and cheese and smoked fish, perhaps a bowl of berries with cream. The house is warm after the cool of the evening air. Vaiana hangs his linen sheet on a hook by the door and dresses in soft, loose clothes. His body is still releasing heat from the sauna, a gentle warmth that seems to radiate from within. He feels clean and calm and profoundly at peace. Aino is reading by the fire, her glasses perched on her nose, a cup of tea steaming on the table beside her. She looks up as he enters and smiles without speaking. They have been married for 48 years. Many things no longer need to be said. He sits across from her, accepting the cup of tea she pours, watching the flames dance in the fireplace. The food is simple and nourishing, eaten slowly, savored. Through the window, he can see the lake, a dark mirror, now reflecting only the stars. This is what life is, he thinks. Not the grand events, the milestones and achievements, but these small moments of peace. A fire in the fireplace, a cup of tea, the presence of someone you love, the satisfaction of a day well spent, of work completed, of rituals honored. Chapter 13. The falling into dreams. Later, in the small bedroom under the eaves, Vaiana lies beside Aino and listens to her breathing slow into sleep. The room is dark, except for the faint light of the stars through the window. The house is silent, except for the settling of old wood, the whisper of wind in the birch trees, the distant calling of the loons. His body sinks into the mattress, heavy and warm and utterly relaxed. The heat of the sauna still lives in his muscles, in his bones, in the very core of his being. He feels held by it, cradled, as if the low Lu has followed him from the sauna and wrapped itself around him like a blanket. His thoughts begin to drift, losing their edges, becoming less like thoughts and more like clouds. He sees the sauna as it was in his father's time. The wooden walls a little less darkened, the stones a little less worn. He sees his grandfather teaching his father how to pour the water, how to create the perfect steam. He sees the lineage stretching back through time, an unbroken chain of fire and water and stone. The visions shift and merge. He is standing in a forest that is somehow older than the forest he knows, the trees taller, the silence deeper. The sauna he sees is not his sauna but something more ancient, a structure half buried in the earth, heated by stones from a river that no longer exists. And yet it is the same. The fire is the same. The steam is the same. The Lolu is the same. He understands, in the way one understands things at the edge of sleep, that he is part of something vast and ancient and beautiful. The sauna tradition is not just a practice, but a living thing, a spirit that has inhabited his people for 7,000 years. It has shaped them, defined them, given them a way to face the long dark winters and the brief brilliant summers. It has taught them patience and silence and the sacred quality of ordinary things. Chapter 14, The Spirit of Steam. And now, as you two begin to drift towards sleep, let the images of the Finnish lakeland settle around you. Feel the warmth of the sauna stones radiating through your body. Hear the soft hiss of water on hot granite, the rising of the Lolu, the spirit of steam ascending through the air. You are in a place of deep peace. The lake stretches before you, calm and endless, reflecting a sky full of stars. The forest stands around you, ancient and protective, the birch trees pale in the darkness like friendly ghosts. The sauna sits at the water's edge, a small wooden building that holds within it 7,000 years of human wisdom. The heat enters your muscles, releasing every tension. The steam fills your lungs, clean and warm and scented with birch. The silence wraps around you, deep as the lake, old as the stars. There is nothing to do, nothing to worry about, nothing to be but exactly what you are in this moment. Vayana is there, in the way that guides are sometimes present in dreams. He pours water on the stones, and the Lolu rises. He speaks without words, and you understand. The sauna is a place between worlds, a threshold where the ordinary falls away and something deeper emerges. In the heat and the steam and the silence, you find something you have always known but often forget, that you are part of an endless continuity, a single note in a song that has been playing since the beginning of time. Rest now. The fire has burned down to embers. The stones are releasing their last warmth. The lake is still, the stars are bright, and the night stretches before you, peaceful and infinite. Let the low Lu carry you into sleep, into dreams, into the deep rest that your body and soul require. You are safe. You are held. The spirit of steam watches over you as it has watched over countless generations before, and when you wake, you will carry something of this peace with you, a warmth that lives in your center, a stillness that cannot be disturbed. The morning after, somewhere in Finland, the sun is rising over a lake of glass. The mist curls from the water in lazy spirals, drifting through the birch trees, dissolving in the first warmth of the morning. A loon calls once, twice, then falls silent. In a small house by the shore, an old man opens his eyes. He lies still for a moment, feeling the peace that lingers from the night before, the deep rest that only the sauna can provide. Then he rises, slowly, and walks to the window. The sauna stands where it has always stood, a small dark building at the water's edge. The stones inside are cold now, waiting for the next fire, the next heating, the next rising of the low Lu. But they remember the heat. They always remember. And they are patient. The cycle will continue. Today or tomorrow or next week, the fire will be lit again. The smoke will fill the room. The stones will heat. The steam will rise. And another evening will pass in the ancient ritual of fire and water and stone. But that is for another day. For now, there is only this. The morning light on the lake, the mist in the birch trees, the deep peace that settles over everything like a blessing. The sauna keeper stands at his window, watching, waiting, at peace with all that is and all that will be. Sleep well. The low Lu watches over you, and somewhere in Finland, the lake is waking to another day.